This morning I have Robert Martinelli with us, and he's one of the advisors that is actually working with the team-based model. How are you doing, Robert?
Very well, Ken. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good to talk to you. So yeah, we wanted to ask you a few questions and kind of get some of your input and understanding a little bit more about you. So maybe you could start off by telling us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Got into financial services in 1992 as a stockbroker for Paine Webber. Was active in that for many years. And of course, in the late 90s, technology was, the internet was growing. Everyone wanted to be invested in technology. And I remember I had many clients in one mutual fund called Janus Technology Fund. And in 1999, it returned 146%.
Wow.
And that January, I brought people in and I said, well, what's the rule of investing? And I went like this, and you all know buy low, sell high. And I said, great, we just made a lot of money. This can continue. Let's sell some of this. And surprisingly, I got two answers. One was, I think it's going to go higher, so I'm not going to do anything. And the second one was, I don't want to pay taxes. And as hard as I tried, I could not get people to make that transition. And of course, over the next 3 years, it was a painful death, a little bit each year. But I took things away from that. And the big one I took away was I truly was not their trusted advisor. I really wasn't, they weren't listening to me. Mm-hmm. And so I went on this search to figure out how could I become the advisor that people would truly listen to. And that journey ultimately brought me to Elite because your model is perfect. And that's what I hope we're going to talk about today. So
yeah, well, I wanted to kind of ask you, how did you decide to get involved with the Elite Resource Team?
Well, over the years I tried working with CPAs, and I pretty much used the same script. Hey, CPA, I'm a great guy, you're a great guy, let's work together. But I really didn't have a compelling reason to work together. I certainly wanted them to refer me someone retiring so I could roll over their IRA, but I wasn't really bringing anything of value to them. I knew what I would get, but what was I really bringing to them? And Elite finally has a process and a system that brings value to the CPA.
Okay, so I guess I'd ask you, what have you learned from being in the team-based model for a while now?
What I've learned is that some CPAs get it, and they want to be more than just a tax preparer, and many of them, unfortunately, don't want to make that transition, and they're very happy being a tax preparer. I think, like all financial advisors, we want to prove to people we have a compelling message, and we don't move on quick enough. I think it's just a matter of meeting with someone, explaining our mission, and saying, is this a direction that you want to go in? Do you want to bring this added value to your clients?
Sure.
And that's what works, basically.
So you've been in Elite Resource Team, the team-based model, for a while now. How long have you been in, Robert?
I believe it's 3 years.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, you've been in it for 3 years now. Knowing what you do know now, what are some of the things that you might have done a little differently had you known that going in?
Definitely spending more time reaching out to CPAs to find the CPA that truly wants to become the meaningful advisor to their clients. That takes a lot of work, and it takes more work than us finding a client to serve in the financial services. They're always busy with compliance work, their IRS deadlines, payroll deadlines. So it's hard for us to have a large window of opportunity. We really have very limited time frames in which to try to compel our message to someone. Certainly, I think what would elevate or speed up this process would be to, when we visit with our clients on that annual basis, to get a copy of their tax return and find out who their tax preparer is, and make a contact based on having a mutual client.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
And that would be the best way. So, you know, if you got 100 clients, potentially you got maybe 100 tax preparers or 50. So that would keep you busy for a while. Certainly,
sure.
You know, knocking on those doors.
So you have found that some of the CPAs are the exact type that you're looking for, and some of them aren't, frankly.
The most are not. Most don't want to make that transition, unfortunately.
Right.
And so, you know, I think the best word we could use is next. You know, we just move on to the next person.
Right. So, but you have got some relationships now that are generating positive results.
I am, yes, definitely.
Good.
So it's bearing fruit, and it's a win-win for the client, for the CPA, and for myself.
So how many CPAs are you working with now, Robert?
Probably 1 1/4.
Okay, good. So
the quarter one is just, I'm trying to get them to buy in, and we're tiptoeing in. So.
Right, and it's like you said, it's a dance that you have to dance while you're establishing relationships with people and also maintaining the busyness of what you've been doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So one of the great things about Elite is that you just give us information to make us better at reaching out to the CPA, right? And terminology, that you've presented to me is that the CPA is tied down in compliance work. So you've educated me into the how CPAs think, what their business structure is. So it allows me to go in there and talk more intelligently, recognizing what their business model is like.
Okay, so you've basically participated in a lot of activity with events and things that we've had, academies. How would you say that you've evolved over time with Elite Resource Team?
Well, I certainly could look at my income and say I've evolved that way. Certainly, I am much more knowledgeable about taxes and the impact of taxes on an individual, and that allows me to have an intelligent conversation with my client. I would prefer, actually, if the their CPA came to bat and really became what's called a lead advisor, and I supported that person. That would be the ideal relationship. You exemplify that in your bubble chart, right? The CPA has the client relationship, and we bring to the CPA a host of tax experts, CPAs, tax attorneys who have specialties, and that's how we really support them. That's an excellent model that you guys have created, and showing it with that bubble chart is very powerful.
Good. So what are some of the tips that you've learned, maybe that you could share with the listeners about some of the things that you've learned about the model, working with the model, and working with CPAs?
Well, for me, and I'm kind of analytical, what has worked better, not necessarily more successful, but has at least opened up the door, which is the hardest part, has been to get the interest of the CPA through the mutual client. That has been the most helpful in getting me at least to have a conversation with that CPA. The next step certainly is converting them. And I've met with about 20 CPAs. 3 of them said they wanted to get on board, but I could not get them to pull the trigger, so to speak, and start the process. So it's not an easy process, but it's a lucrative process if you stick with it. Mm-hmm. And again, it's finding that CPA who's open-minded, who wants to really truly be a tax advisor as opposed to a tax preparer to their clients.
Good. So you've mentioned a couple of times that it's been a lucrative move for you. talk to me a little bit about some of the cases that you're working on and, have worked on in the recent past. And, I think you've got a couple cases right now that you're working on. So maybe you could speak a little bit to that. And
Sure. So I've got, let's see. So a big part of my practice certainly is helping people understand that there are three ways we're taxed. Taxed every year through 1099, tax deferred, and certainly tax-free. And surprisingly, their CPAs have not had that conversation with them. And I've been fortunate to have an opportunity to, through pictures, show them the power of that and then give them mathematical examples. So for me, try to reduce it from a sales pitch to a mathematical decision, right? If you don't do this, here's what you're going to pay. If you do this, here's what you're going to pay. So, which one do you want? Which one's better for you? And surprisingly, some people don't get it. They just want to stay on the path they're staying on. But to get back to your question, I am here in California, and there is a large income base here. They make good money through Silicon Valley, and I've been blessed with many large cases where transitioning people into life insurance, retirement planning has been big cases. I just received word from Ashley that one of my clients is approved. Their premium is $80,000 a year. I have another one coming in to next couple days, and it's husband and wife separate policies. There'll be $120,000 a year in premium.
Wow.
So there, again, I'm blessed, but the conversation is the same, regardless of whether it's a $5,000 a year policy or a $120,000 a year policy.
Right.
That does not change. So again, we have to work with our clients and help them understand. And again, I guess I use the word mathematics. Let's stay with the mathematics of it. Is your CPA showing you this? We want to work with your CPA to show him how to do this. And that's the language that I'm using to open up that door.
Good. So have you, Robert, over the years, even maybe before you got involved with Elite Resource Team, you mentioned that you had taken a look at, tried working with CPAs before. Had you ever tried working with any other programs?
I did try working with another one. Do you want me to name it, or?
You don't have to name it, or you can.
I did try working with another one, and it seemed to be more self-serving to them than it was to me. They have a different business model than you have, and theirs involved a large upfront financial commitment, where yours is more of a partnership. And that's what I'm looking for, is a partnership. We need to partner with our CPAs, we need to partner with our clients, we need to partner with you. So your model gravitated, or I gravitated to your model because it's how I like to do business.
Good. Well, that's very exciting. Tell me, Robert, looking at the industry and what you've learned through Elite Resource Team, the team-based model, if you were talking to people that are maybe trying to make a decision as to whether this is the right program for them to become involved with, what would you say to them?
I would say if they truly want to be of value to their clients, then everyone, their clients and themselves, have to understand that taxes are the single biggest expense in our lives. And in the information I'm reading, taxes most likely in my lifetime will become more expensive in the future than they are today. And if we're going to provide value, we have to show people, if we could even cut their tax bill in half, what is the opportunity that they have saving that money? How could it help the client? And if we truly want to say that we're in this business to help people, then, picking a mutual fund or an exchange traded fund or doing dollar cost averaging or quarterly rebalancing is not really of any value, because it's the same message that every financial advisor is basically shouting out, right? So if we need to be doing something different, we need to be bringing more value to our clients, different value to our clients.
Sure.
And that's the power of what Elite has brought to me, is the knowledge and the skill to take me and elevate me to a different level in front of the CPAs and my clients. I just got a text from a client that just turned 65 and got his Medicare bill. And because he's a high income individual, he was shocked at how expensive his Medicare bill was. And people are unaware that this government, or the government, is going to means testing. But my answer to him was, well, that's why we're doing this tax planning, because over the next few years, as we transition you to tax-free income, your Medicare bill will fall. And he said, thank you, Robert, you're a blessing, and thank you for putting me at ease. So again, people are busy with their own lives. They're busy doing what makes them happy. And John has come to me and basically allowed me to, John, this client, help him navigate through this. And he admitted he's not good at it, and he finally wants help, and I'm giving him that help. And that's what Elite has taught me what to do and how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the team that we bring behind us supports everything that I do.
Mm-hmm. So you've seen the real benefit in the team, that is the CPA, yourself, the client, the specialist, all working together for creating really a win-win situation for everybody involved.
Everybody wins. There's no doubt about it. And there was a study done many years ago. I want to say it was BlackRock. I may be mistaken, but they had a program called the Lead Advisor, about becoming a lead advisor. And what they said is that when you have a stockbroker, an insurance agent, a CPA, and an estate planning attorney, and they're not talking, you actually increase the risk of failure. And they labeled it that the client would probably lose about 1.5 points a year in growth because the specialists are not communicating, right? So that's no different than you say, I want to build a house, and a plumber shows up, electrician shows up, a carpenter shows up, but there's no plan and there's no structure, right? Everyone's doing their own thing, but your house is not going to get finished properly.
Mm-hmm.
So using that model also has helped me to get the message across. It could be me. I prefer it be the CPA, but someone needs to be the lead advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the message that I talk to the CPAs about. I want you to be the lead advisor. I don't need the accolades. You do. I don't want them. I'll just support you.
Yeah, and that's proven to be a pretty, basically a winning formula, it sounds like.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, good. Well, Robert, I want to thank you for taking time today to join me and just share a few minutes of what you've actually experienced, the increases to your overall production, and very exciting to hear. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome, Ken. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
You too.